This story was originally shared on Reddit. Revenge on a terrible neighbor. Years ago, I rented a townhouse while working on a studio contract. The house was nice, a two-bedroom that I shared with my girlfriend, now my wife. There was a single attached garage, which is a main part of the story. The next-door neighbor, who we'll call Chad, was a real piece of work. He was in his mid-30s, balding, which he tried to hide with a buzz cut, and one of the shortest men I've ever met. He compensated for his lack of height by having a giant lifted custom pickup truck that was too tall to park in his garage. His other pride and joy was a heavily modified Honda Civic, which he liked to rev loudly most days. Chad had 4 friends who would sit with him at the end of his driveway, drinking beer all day and leaving empty cans everywhere. When I started renting the house in the spring, Chad was initially friendly, even offering to move his car to make it easier for the movers. He parked in both spots, despite a visitor lot right across the street. After the movers left, Chad mentioned that the previous tenants had let him use their garage for his car during the winter, since his was full of exercise equipment and the sweet motorcycle he was building. I told him that the landlord hadn't given me the key or access code yet, and the only way I could open the garage was from the inside. Chad mentioned that neither his keys nor the code he had worked anymore either. Later, when I spoke with the landlord and mentioned Chad in the garage, he told me never to share the code, keys, or the garage itself with Chad. The previous tenants had been robbed just after Christmas, the reason they'd moved away. And the landlord suspected that Chad and his friends were responsible, though there was no proof. The landlord had changed the locks and access code as part of preparing the house for the next tenant. A month or so later, I learned from another neighbor that Chad's dad had been a local cop who died when Chad was a teenager, and the police gave Chad a pass on disturbance calls and the like, something he took advantage of. Chad kept pressuring me to give him access to my garage and got really angry when I finally told him no. Maybe his temper stemmed from his lack of height or something else, but he was upset enough that his friends had to hold him back from physically attacking me. From that point on, I would find empty beer cans on my lawn. He and his friends would catcall my wife when they saw her alone. He would park his truck blocking my driveway, and he blasted music at all hours of the day and night, anything to make himself a nuisance. When winter came, things got worse, since he was no longer allowed to park his truck on the street and was denied parking in the visitor lot. Later, some kids vandalized the car cover on his Honda and scratched the paint, which he blamed on me not letting him use my garage. After New Year's, I found all my exterior Christmas decorations ripped off the house and destroyed on my lawn. That's when I decided to take revenge. Starting that night, during the beginning of a really bad cold snap, I watered his car every 30 minutes from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. using the garden hose. By the next morning, a thick layer of ice covered his Fast and Furious mobile, pinning it to the driveway. I hid the garden hose in my garage before anyone saw it. When Chad saw his car, his rage was legendary. He screamed, yelled, and woke up the entire neighborhood. The police and fire department came, did nothing, and left. Chad's friends tried to use various power tools to free the car, and one of them actually cut into a tire and fender using a sawzall. About a week later, the ice had thinned enough that the car finally popped free. Chad broke the windshield trying to remove large chunks of ice. That spring, my work contract ended, and I moved away, free of Chad. I'm still friends with my previous landlord, and he recently told me that Chad and his friends are now in jail after they got caught robbing a convenience store just after the holidays. What do you think? Did he go too far, or did his neighbor deserve it? Let me know in the comments.